Politics came to mind. I think Wings of Redemption is a big Bernie Sanders fan. Am I right on that?
Yes, and if we're going into this, can you please lay out every reason you don't like Bernie Sanders?
Me?
Or whoever doesn't like him.
Let me go first, and I'll try and run through it real quick. What I do like about Bernie Sanders is I feel like he's the most honorable guy in the race. He's not running on a campaign of lies, which actually pretty rare in politics, especially if you consider a promise you don't think you can deliver to be a lie. So Bernie Sanders, honorable guy, that's laid out. He seems to almost hate wealthy people. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people view wealthy people as like dirty bankers who got bailed out and stuff. And while that's true of some of them, in my mind, a wealthy person is someone who like doubled down in school, worked hard his whole life, 80-hour weeks were just the norm for him, owns his own business, and now he's making a bunch of money. They can be farmers, they can be plumbers, they can be business owners, whatever. I met a guy on a Disney cruise that was the like water filter king of West Virginia. I don't know how you become that guy, but I bet he worked his ass off to be him. And I feel like Bernie Sanders, when he's like, yeah, we got to take from him and give to them, is maybe off track there.
Careful, don't get yourself quoted and posted on Politico or whatever that subreddit was where you got your
you want me to rebuttal to that?
Sure.
You go for rebuttal.
Rebuttal. The rebuttal
for half a point right there, Wings. Half a point for your team with this rebuttal.
I have one quick thing I want to say. I feel like the $15 an hour minimum wage, which is important to him, will get those lower end jobs replaced, either overseas or robots.
Well,
it'll destroy small business.
You can't say that, but you got to. It's a multiple step program. It's not a one step we fix it kind of thing. But to hit Woody up first, to the fear things, he does have a hatred towards rich people, but he's not talking about Woody Rich. He's talking about Koch brother Rich. Mm-hmm. He's talking about a guy who makes $3.1 million an hour.
I hear you, and oftentimes that's used to say, that? Woody, don't worry about it. He means much richer than you.
No. He does mean you, because he makes $300,000 or more income a year.
I don't think that's true.
That's what the tax bracket will be broke up in. And that's based on joint. $300,000 a year
though, is $300,000 a year plus includes the overwhelming
includes
majority of successful small business owners.
If you're more successful, you should pay more.
No, but if you've got 15 to 20 employees and you're paying a minimum wage because that's all you can afford, and they're not performing a duty that's that valuable for what they're providing, you're a small business owner, and they demand that you double your employee cost every year, that could cripple that small business. Walmart, on the other hand, isn't going to be affected.
You're talking about something completely different. We're talking about taxing on the rich and the wealthy right here. You're talking about the minimum wage. Different topic. Well, it's kind of the same.
Can I jump in though? Let's pretend it didn't impact me. Let's say it started at $2 million a year. I still don't like it. I don't like it because I feel like it's almost morally wrong. Some people won't understand that, but it seems like it just violates my sense of right and wrong to heavily punish someone based on how much they're earning. And I like a progressive tax system. I like that the higher end people are taxed more than the lower. I think that's right.
What he's trying to do is he's trying to eliminate the things that will cause the higher end tax bracket. For example, somebody like Mitt Romney. Mitt Romney ran for president last time they ran around, and he was effectively paying a 16% tax rate, which he should have been paying
less, I think.
It was actually less than that, probably.
Yeah.
But he should have been paying closer to 31%. And what Bernie Sanders wants to do is eliminate those loopholes that will allow that person like that who makes that kind of money to get those kind of tax breaks, and then take the difference and push it back down to the economy, not give it to a poor person. He's not like, well, let's take this $100 bills out of Woody's hand and give it over here to Jordy. That's not how he's doing. He wants to go back into infrastructure. He wants to create jobs. He wants to create fixing the roads. He wants to create more opportunities in school, like making college for free. And he wants to go to a public health care system.
Yeah, And I like some of those ideas, especially like the loophole, closing some of those things, investment tax carry
That's
forwards.
Never going to happen. Everyone is.
The only way it happens is if you get behind it. You got to take money out of politics. Bernie Sanders goes for that. You got to get behind it. It's never going to happen with that kind of attitude.
But I'm just saying it's one of the things that everyone keeps running on and talking about. Also, they're not going to do it. Like Trump's saying that too. Trump's like, I'm going to take it all away from the hedge fund.
Did you see Trump's tax proposal though? It's going to cost $12 trillion if he gives those kind of tax rates to people. Trump's like cutting like even the Trump is like cutting taxes to 14% flat.
Boom. That's the problem. So remember, I'm sorry, Taylor. No, remember, okay. I talked about how Bernie was like one of the most honorable people. Trump is one of the least honorable people. I like his style and his brand, but I believe most of what he's saying is shit. Right? His tax plan is just pandering. You know, you get a tax break, you get a tax break. It's just literally part of it. If you make less than $50,000 a year, you fill out a 1-page form that says "I win," and you have to mail that in. What kind of horse shit is that? Like that is.
That's similar to the pandering that Bernie's doing in a way with the whole like, oh, I'm going to propose all these completely non-feasible changes to our economy, and in exchange all you students get your debt forgiven, you all get a high minimum wage, you all get free health care.
He never said anything about student debt being forgiven.
College would be made to be borderline free.
What is he going to do with that? He's going to cut the military budget, and he's going to make any 4-year college free. And he's not talking about Yale. He's not talking about Harvard.
I heard it not as the military budget, but instead he was going to tax high-frequency trades or something like that.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll pay for itself, but that's a good thing.
He's got a lot of good ideas. He's actually probably my third or fourth favorite.
He's pretty much banking off Scandinavian Germany. Germany has the strongest economy in the world.
Not for long.
Not for long.
Why not?
Because they're going to be suffering some really difficult economic struggles with this influx of non-skilled laborers.
Millions of people.
That's true. Yeah.
Millions. That's going to be very difficult to manage. Like 800,000 people is what they're targeted at bringing in.
Yeah.
That would be Syrian refugees.
Yeah, that would be a struggle for the U.S. We have a much higher population than Germany.
And if they fall off, you know what? I commend them, because countries like the United States, if somebody is willing to take 800,000 people, they should help them. Because I'm looking at it this way. I said it on the podcast show that if they allowed me to, I would take a Syrian family into my home and let them live for free.
I bet you would.
The U.S. takes in more refugees than any other country.
Yeah.
Wings takes in people all the time, but I'll tell you what, I take in ethnic people into my home.
Well, it's just the fact is that you got to put yourself in their shoes. You got to walk
$8 an hour. How couldn't you?
It's like what are you running from? You're running from a house that's blown up. You're trying to keep your kids from stepping on landmines. You're trying to keep them out of the thing of predator drones. You're trying to keep them out of the breathing chemical weapons in. And you have
Germany?
People spitting.
Why would they go to a country that?
Because it's the only country that would be like.
No, it's not. There's like 10 countries on the way that aren't war torn and war stricken. They went to Germany because they have the most liberal, progressive welfare system.
You don't think they tried to get into those other countries either?
Oh,
every country's turning them away. Look at the reception they're getting in the United States, dude. They're not even coming to the United States right now. We were talking about what, 10,000 of them or something.
It's a lot harder to get here.
There's plenty of examples of them. We're taking 100,000 now, but there's plenty of examples of them literally being like, "You don't want to stay here in Hungary. The system's much better in Germany. Yeah. You go to Germany, you get this and this and this.
Passing the fucking buck.
They just keep going."
Did you see the guy who made the video? He's like, Hungary is bad. He was a mayor. He's like, but my town is the worst part of Hungary, and we're gonna greet you. And he's got like police cars driving down the road and like
it's
6 of them.
That need fucking help,
dark sunglasses. He's like the Terminator of immigration. He's just like.
See, I understand what you're saying, Wings. Like it's easy to say, like, oh, you understand their plight of they're coming from a war-torn area, and it's very difficult for them, and X and Y and Z, and you got to believe they're out for the best. But the fact is that, first of all, ISIS has said they are going to sneak people in with these people.
I don't give a fuck if I can sneak people in with these people.
They can sneak people in. They can kill innocent people.
You should care.
Let's address.
You should absolutely
we should not care. We should not care. Here's why.
We should care. They could kill people.
Let them talk.
Okay, you don't think 800,000 people starving to death is not going to kill people?
It wouldn't starve
Not
to death.
any of us.
It's not going to affect any of you. That's called white privilege.
All starve to death, and it wouldn't hurt us at all. But if 50 ISIS guys,
that's cold-blooded as fuck.
Put them in Baltimore or wherever the fuck, and they get organized.
That is cold-blooded. I understand what you're saying. You're sneaking terrorists into the country.
Idealistically.
I think you should just care, though. You should.
All right, so first of all, there is a vetting process. But how good could it really be? What kind of identification do these people have, really? If they've got a Syrian driver's license, I'm sure that's a thing. How
ISIS can print
there's no biometrics
They're making
on
$1 million a day. They'll print whatever they need.
Most of them are people also coming from countries that aren't, not most, but there's a good percentage. I saw some article today It said like 30% of them are suspected to not even be from Syria.
Yeah,
like you can see a parade of people going like, "Hey, we're going to fucking Germany to get excellent welfare, healthcare, free housing, all of this at the expense of them."
Let me get this right.
You can stay here in Turkey if you want. Oh wait, I'm in here in Turkey. Throw my ID away. Now I'm a Syrian refugee.
The whole idea that you're not going to help these people is because there's a chance that some of them might have ulterior motives. That's your whole reasoning.
It's a guarantee.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be a guarantee. There might be a fucking bombing that happens in Germany because they let 800,000 people in there. I almost can guarantee there will be a bombing. But the fact is,
he didn't say that on this show, by the way.
Think about all the people that have better lives because Germany let them into the things. You're thinking about the 1% when you should be thinking about the 99%.
No, I'm not. I'm thinking about the sustainability of this. If
He's
you
thinking
invite
about the 100%.
Right, it's not a permanent. It's not like they're going there to live.
I think it is permanent.
They are not going back. If
They're
you
not
think
going there for a
million,
lunch and leaving.
Yeah, if you think these million people are going to live in Germany with free healthcare, free housing, and then they're just going to go back to Syria,
those people are walking into Germany, throwing their shit on the ground, and going, "All right, where do we stay?"
Yeah.
It's called a sanctioned city. That's what they'd probably stay at. I mean, they're
we need
like
to get a job. You need to get a job and you don't have any viable skills for us.
What happens if Germany's liberal system takes these people and makes unskilled workers skilled workers and basically integrates them perfectly?
It happens a lot.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
I don't know. Now, these are biased news sources like John Oliver. But apparently, I mean, according to them, when you take in refugees or when you take in immigrants like that, countries tend to succeed with them.
Did you see that little girl that he wanted to let in?
Yeah.
We don't need to be taking people like that.
Because she's in a wheelchair?
No. All right. There was
what about the little boy that washed up on a beach, Kyle?
That
an ISIS fighter?
I don't care. That little, I don't care. Who fucking cares? Why do you care?
I'm just saying, you're worried about like 50 ISIS guys getting in out of 800,000.
No, not 50 ISIS guys. They literally said, and I've heard people make the counter argument, well, if ISIS was doing it, they wouldn't announce it. Yeah, they're literally a terrorist organization. They would announce it because they know that these liberal countries.
They're a Muslim Sahara.
They terrorize people. They behead huge swaths of people for believing different things, trying to terrorize their way into changing policy in those nations. I'd say they're pretty much solidified as terrorists. And there is a chance that they will get in, 100%.
I got my terrorist rant to go through.
No, let's turn at this because I feel like everyone else has. So there's millions of these refugees, right?
Yeah.
They're fleeing to anywhere and everywhere they can go. We've already said we will take 100,000 of them, and there will be a vetting process. They're not just going to open the floodgates and let 100,000 people in. I am worried about that vetting process because I looked at the projected numbers that they had for 50,000 and for the 5,000 individuals that they initially proposed, and it was going to take like a year or something to get them in. So I don't know how they're going to get 100,000 in with any kind of a decent vetting process. But if the choice were, if I thought they were letting one bad guy in, I would shut the gates completely. Like I would rather let 0 good people, refugees in, than bring one bad guy in. I don't.
So you'd rather let
if it's
999,000 people die than let one bad guy in.
It's not don't let them in or they die. A nation has. What is a nation if they don't have a responsibility to protect the citizens of that nation? If you invite people in who you know there's a decent chance.
Look at it this way. You're looking at it at a seat of privilege. You're looking at it in a seat of privilege.
As an American.
As an American, rationally, though.
You're looking at it as from a seat of privilege. Just imagine if you had your house bombed tonight. Tonight, your house gets bombed.
Well, I'm going to kill the people who bombed it tomorrow.
I'd clearly just go to
your country doesn't have a military capable of defending itself, and you now have to take your children and have to go somewhere else. Do you keep them in the war-torn country where the other houses are getting?
No, you move them, but why is it someone else's fault, though?
It's not somebody else's fault, but the fact is you're talking about a country of 301 million people.
No. It's no different than this is no different than hey, why don't you go attack Iraq over there or Iran? It's not our fucking problem at the end of the day. Why do we have to take anyone in?
We need to be the bigger fucking person. We have 321 million people living in America. 100,000 people is a drop in the bucket. We can assimilate them and put them in very easily.
Look at the history of people from this section of the world attempting to assimilate into Western European or the U.S., or I guess Western European specifically.
Our whole country is based off immigrants, Taylor.
That's
But
true,
not
but I'm
these. They're
talking.
different.
Yeah, the Irish.
They're
The
different
Western
because they're
culture is
brown.
vastly different.
I'm
than
talking
their
about that
culture.
there isn't a very successful history of people from this section of the world with the beliefs that they hold successfully adopting beliefs from their country. They'll want special treatment for their specific beliefs, and they'll want to continue to do things the way they do without actually
Christians don't want
assimilating.
this right now.
None of
What
that
about
shit.
This
this?
is
What about
totally
this
different.
Kim Davis bullshit that was all over my TV?
That's literally one person.
That's not literally one person. There's a whole party called the GOP that pretty much goes behind this like a cult status.
Until 3 years ago, until
The Tea Party
literally
is
last
fucking.
year, the Democrats
The Tea
did
Party
the
is a
exact same
cancer
thing.
on the American.
What did the
American
Democrats do that
democracy.
was parallel to
No,
that?
I was just talking about being against gay marriage. Like it was the party line for Democrats to be against gay marriage for like 2 years ago.
I
as
feel
well.
like that's
it's only
not
when
fair.
public
It's
opinion
not fair
sways.
because we're talking about
Obama
people
ran on it.
as
Hillary's
specialists.
ran on it. They only switch when it gets
It's
popular,
true that
which is the
Obama
smart
did switch when it got popular, but I also think it's true that the Democrats were totally the socially progressive party for a long, long time.
Oh,
I'm
really?
saying
Decades.
as far as
Why
the-
so many gay Republican senators? I'm always here.
Touche.
Wrong point.
Yeah, touche.
I just want to say this.
Give
They've
him
got
a
some
point
serious
for
sausage
something.
fear over there.
I just want to say this because we got cut off right when it happened. But like
Yeah,
terrorists is a point of view. Like if you want to look, America was terrorists
He's
in
right.
England when they threw the tea into the fucking harbor. We
Sure.
were terrorists.
Right?
I don't,
You have
No, he's
you have
right.
you have the Puritans and the Quakers.
We were
The
freedom
Puritans
fighters.
were fucking terrorists to the Quakers, and the Quakers were terrorists to the Puritans. It's all about how you look at it.
Right.
sure.
ISIS
We're
isn't
just
a
looking at
terrorist group. It's a pro-Sharia law Muslim group that has very poor communication skills and has
No,
very
but
bad
parts
thoughts.
of
Yeah, they
literally
communicate
parts
with
of what the
guns.
law that they're espousing to want to put it forth would
They're-
dictate the killing of people who disagree with them. They're not like
You
most
don't think the
Muslims who are
Christians
like
used to do that? And look how the Christians are nowadays.
Yeah, in
I
1300 AD. What the
condemn
fuck?
that.
Motherfucker, did
Yeah.
you forget Rwanda?
I condemn that just
Oh
as
my
much.
God.
That's just as shitty.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the implementation of Sharia law in the way they interpret it, they're not like most Muslims who are just good people trying to do their religion. They're pieces of shit who are taking the worst parts of that and dictating that other people have to follow it, hurting them in the process, beheading them. Have you seen the videos online? It's
I
awful.
understand.
They're not
I
just
understand
an
some people use
ideological difference. They're
AK-47, some
terrorists.
people use pins.
I'd rather be attacked with
Yeah,
a pen than a
there's
sword.
a better person. in
Yeah,
there
they put that one guy in the
shooting
cage and burn him alive, though. They do
Yeah.
that.
That was
Well,
a shot in
Eric,
RPG
but you
at
guys
one
are
point.
you guys are talking about letting
Yeah, but what if they wrote a
990,000
nasty
You know,
People
Wings,
die
can I jump in
starvation.
for a second? I feel like to say, hey, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter kind of overlooks the fact that some of these groups actually are evil. You know, it kind of like when they do the climate debates and they say, yeah, some people think it's this, some people think it's that. No. 97% think it's this, 3% think it's that. You can't just say, tomato, tomato. When you look at ISIS, they actually are bad guys. I don't
they're
think
doing
there are
bad
two
stuff.
sides of this. It's like, some people are pro-rape, some
They're
people
bad
are
stuff.
anti-rape.
But what I was trying to get at, Woody, though, was that the winner usually dictates if it's bad or not.
Well, that's surely true. But with regards to ISIS, I think you really can look at them and say, yup, bad guy. Is America ever a bad guy? Sure. Yeah, sometimes.
Well,
The
Um,
ISIS people are the reason that this whole immigration thing is as
Yeah.
big of an issue as it is.
Yeah.
If it were just all good Muslims going over there who were skilled laborers who wanted to work, just trying to survive, even if they weren't skilled laborers, they could assimilate well and do what they needed to do to thrive. It's the fact that these ISIS members are going to be among them is what makes it so difficult to justify letting them in, because they will kill people because they are an evil group. They're not representative of Muslims, but they are
Could it?
there.
Yeah, I don't know. ISIS hasn't proven
How
that
did we
they're
get from
actually
Bernie
doing
Sanders
it
to
yet.
this?
Yeah, I don't know. ISIS hasn't proven that they're actually doing it yet. They could very well be saying, "Oh yeah, some of those immigrants are us," just to keep them where they are, so they can continue to fuck them up.
Yeah.
That whole thing's a real big shit show because, Russia's involved now, and surprise, they're not bombing ISIS specifically. They're bombing the rebels that were causing the biggest problem for Assad. So that'll be a real meltdown soon since you've got the Russians and the Assad propping up the Assad regime, and then the Saudis and us and whatever group of other people are adding money and arms and manpower and machinery to that whole bloody thing they got going on over there. It's great to watch on TV. It's been very entertaining.
I think the Starship Trooper said it best. Another body for the meat grinder.
Yeah.
I'm always down for a palatable Starship Troopers quote. Yeah.
I've got my own. Can we watch it together?
Put your
Tell me when
hand
you're
on
queued
that
up at
wall.
zero. Tell
Wings,
me when you're queued up at
do
zero.
you see the links, or do you need it?
FBS Kyle 945, the last one I got.
Okay.
Here,
Just
I'll
Oh, so
sent
that's-
it.
a while ago.
All right, this is my view on the next Middle Eastern war. Ready?
Oh, hang on a second. Wings doesn't have it yet.
No. Kyle is really one thing about Kyle. To copy paste is like a 45
man, I would've
second
been done by
operation.
now.
It literally took 2 seconds.
It
was
takes
copy,
like
paste.
40. It had like all the time. It's like curiously slow.
4-0.
Ready, set, play.
Do I not supposed to talk about what I'm looking at?
It's a secret.
Yes.
Yeah, don't tell
You
anyone.
literally talked over the video.
The only winning move is not to play, which I think Woody is correct in that belief. Like, there's no way to win this.
For those who
You're not gonna
haven't
please
seen
everyone.
War Games.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the Fred Savage movie.
That's how you refer to War Games, is the Fred
Yeah,
Savage
the
movie.
Fred Savage movie.
Not the
Fred
Matthew
Savage.
Broderick movie from 1980.
Is he
or
mixing
whatever.
up Fred Savage with Matthew
It might be
Broderick?
Matthew Broderick, yeah.
It is Matthew
That's why
Broderick.
it's funny.
But yeah,
Never
yeah.
the Wonder Years.
Dude, so Russia is in Syria killing people who are against Assad, trying to prop up some regime. Yeah,
And
just,
somehow we got off Bernie Sanders.
just let that shit happen without us.
Game time.
I'm
Right. Seems to be
perfectly
an
happy letting that shit happen with because I want to cut the military budget by 85%.
I would start at 15.
100%.
I would flip
I would
that.
say-
And,
Well, I'm
and
just saying we
see-
got $661 billion. China has $48 billion. They're the second largest military. I mean, like, we could be at $100 billion and still be the biggest military on earth.
That's true. It should be cut some, but something that's often overlooked
Here's
is
the
the
thing.
reason that these Western European countries who we're allied with are able to live the level of security and comfort that they have is because of the U.S. They know that if shit goes down, the U.S. military is the hammer
So-
behind their threats. Like,
No,
if we just
Motherfucker,
cut our-
that means we're the rich dude that pays for everybody's meal at the table. That's what we're putting ourselves in,
This
and we
is
have a
very
huge
true.
debt.
that
But
you
they,
are right
they're
there.
our friends when we go to the UN meetings, okay? You know?
Chiz always gets those diplomatic victories.
We do get... Hey,
Civ
I
talk.
shit on people with diplomatic victories. I make them fucking...
I'm just my whole thing is we need to quit the trickle down economy. Doesn't work. It didn't work when Reagan did it. It didn't work when Bush did it. Both times. You need to spread the wealth. A rich guy might buy 15 cars, but if that rich guy paid his workers, they might buy 2,000 cars.
See, oh man, I do want to go to game, but the thing is, what I see a lot, especially in like the Bernie Sanders subreddit, which for some reason I go on a lot, is, hey, look, when America was really thriving, the taxes were 90%, right, like the Roosevelt era, on the very wealthy, and unions were strong and this and that. The thing is, that time that America was thriving, when we thrived under that rule set, if you call it that, there wasn't global competition like there is now. It
Right, we
wasn't.
bombed them.
No, it just wasn't.
It was after World War II. Japan got nuked.
It
Germany
wasn't-
was in shambles.
Yeah, we dominated industry in pretty
But
much
the
every
thing
way.
is, the world has shrunk since then. The internet has shrunk the world. Companies like FedEx, who just globally move, papers and materials around all the time, have shrunk the planet. It is so much easier now to outsource the making of your iPhone than it was back in the day.
You know, you get around that, Woody. You punish that.
You can't.
Tariffs.
They'll base
You
their
can't.
industries- their
McDonald's
companies
is
out of
not.
other
I mean, not
countries.
McDonald's, but fucking Walmart is not going to leave the United States. You could kick their tax rate wherever the fuck you want, as long as they're making profit. They're not going to leave the second largest economy in the
They
world.
don't need to leave. They just need to keep their money offshore, which they already
Yeah, I mean, you
do.
punish that like a motherfucker. You punish it hard.
When
There,
And it's offshore.
when you
there already is.
Yeah, when you start punishing that, then they start punishing it. And companies that do exports, like Cisco or tech companies, our finance companies, our healthcare companies, the things that we can export in the U.S., they're like, damn it, now suddenly you've wiped us out. The only good exporting industries left in this country are fucked because you punished the people who import, and now
Well, look at this.
we
Do you
can't
think,
export.
You think Walmart's going into China, which they just did like March? Do you think they're getting the same deal they're getting in the United States and China? I
Probably
think they're
not.
getting fucked left and right. They're getting the privilege to have that user base.
Yep, yeah,
Could be.
it could
That's
be.
exactly how we should take it. And we shouldn't let companies be like, I'm going to throw a fucking fit and I'm going to take my ball and go home. Well, fuck
Companies
you.
like,
Another person
companies
will
like
replace
Walmart
you.
companies like Walmart can afford
Somebody-
to get around those loopholes. You're really punishing smaller to mid-sized businesses
You
that
have a
can't
different
afford
rule
to
set
move their
for- you
base
have
of
different rule
operations
sets for
overseas.
mid-sized business. You know you can lower the tax on the middle class and raise the tax on the rich. You don't have to lower both tax rates.
I'd even be interested in revisiting this, but I think we should do a game.